Hello and welcome to another conversation. I'm Chris Jones, your host. With me is Miss Melissa Thurston in observance of National Homeownership Month. Welcome, Melissa. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you, Chris?
I am pretty good. Thanks for asking. National Home Ownership Month. So much we can talk about, but the main thing I wanted to talk about is kind of the things that are related or tied to your background and what you currently do for a living. I know you're going to give us a bird's eye view of what you do, some of your latest, maybe real estate dealings or what have you. But there are a couple other questions that I would like to ask you from I guess, a home ownership and educational standpoint. Okay.
Sounds great.
All right. Good. Good. So the first thing I want to give you the floor, right? I want you to let us know a little bit about your current position and any, of your latest real estate dealings that, you care to share.
All right. Well, my story started in Burke County, where I went to Burke County High School and graduated in 93. And at that time, I thought I wanted to go and be a teacher at Georgia College and State University. I graduated and had my teaching degree in 98. And I moved to Richmond Hill, Georgia, and I started teaching in Hinesville. And I taught in Hinesville for 7 years.
Okay.
And just about the time that I was ready to go back and get in school debt and get another degree,
Okay.
God had different plans for me. And
Oh.
so that was encouraged by my father, who said, "How much are you paying in rent?"
Mm.
And I was like, "Well, Dad, I don't really know where I want to live." And I knew there were job opportunities coming,
Uh-huh.
and I didn't want to buy a house and then move. But 20 years ago,
20
I was
years ago.
paying,
And I want to make sure I spotlight you, okay? Just keep talking.
20 years ago, I was paying $900 a month for a one bedroom. It was about 700 square feet. And my father was like, you could probably purchase a home and have a mortgage, total mortgage payment with taxes and interest and principal lower than what you're paying for rent. And I said, well, I understand that, but I just really don't know where I want to live yet. Well, then a friend of mine said, well, they're building some new homes in an area in North Bryan County where they don't have any new construction, but they are about to start there. And you can buy a new 1,500 square foot home on half an acre for about $700 a month total payment.
Wow.
And I said, okay, well, let me go drive there and check that out. Rural area, but only 20 minutes from Savannah.
Oh.
So I said, okay, well, I rode out there to check it out. Long story short, ended up meeting the on-site agent at the model home, and there were no houses there yet. Just
Oh.
just her model home. And I met her, and she gave me the floor plans, told me the pricing, and I went home and thought about it. And she gave me a call and she said, would you like to work for me in my office? After the
What?
very first time that I met her, she said, I think you would be a good fit to kind of help me in my real estate office. And I said,
Really?
I'm already teaching school. I don't really want another job. I'm okay. But let's face it, I was broke teaching school.
Okay. Okay.
So, I mean, with my 900 month rent payment, and I had a car that was not paid off since college. So she said, yeah, I really just need someone to help me with contracts, filing, and maybe reaching out to people who have come out to see the property. She's like, but just a couple hours a day, each day in the afternoon, Monday through Friday. And I was like, nah, I really don't want another job. I started thinking about it and I called her back and I said, okay, I think I want to try to help you. So I knew at that point that I was going to proceed and purchase a home in that neighborhood. And then I knew that I would be closer to her office in the afternoons after I taught school. I could just go there first before I went home.
Wow.
So that led to a year of working for her after school in the office.
Wow.
Until the next year, Common Core was about to begin in the school system.
Okay. Yeah.
And we had a new administrator who had come from the high school to the K2 school that I taught at.
That's an interesting transition.
And as grade level leader with 7 teachers under me, when I would meet with him and he'd say, well, those kids really don't need snacks in that classroom. And I started realizing, I don't know if this is the right place. It was just a struggle more than, and I would give all my feedback to him and then nothing would happen.
Right.
And then, so at this point, we were nearing the end of the school year. Contracts were coming up, and my broker would hear me in the afternoons. My now broker would hear me in the afternoons complaining that I don't know that this is what I want to keep doing, and I think I'm going to go back to college.
Wow.
And she was like, you need to get your real estate license.
Wow.
I'll pay for it.
Really?
So, pregnant, I had gotten married, pregnant, teaching school, and working at her office. I would go home at night on realestateexpress.com, and I got my real estate license.
Wow.
So I had one of my father's wishes before he passed away was that I would get my broker's license.
Oh, wow.
So I got my broker's license in 2015.
Okay.
So you have to be an agent for at least 3 years, but I wasn't as ready until 2015. And what I did, I am not a traditional real estate agent. I did not just get my real estate license, go to a big franchise. We know what those franchises are.
Yes.
And I wasn't a fish in the sea vying for business. And all I did was work under her wing in our office, selling new construction. Then we'd go to the next neighborhood, sell that neighborhood, and when every time they built out, she worked under builders. And in the heyday, when 2005, 6, all the way up until the crash in 2008, we were working for about 16 builders.
16
builders. So we started there, like I said, in our first little office. Also, she started Summit Homes and Land, which is the name of our company, because when you get your real estate license, you have to put it with a company to start working. So she started Summit Homes and Land. She put a lot of thought into it. She's a very good business lady. She thought it all out. So she started that company, and what that allowed me to do was to sell outside of the communities with the new construction. I could take a client and go sell a resale house. I could take a client and go sell commercial.
So you know what? I was going to ask you that about the commercial aspect of it. So you have, obviously residential, commercial, tied to a builder, resales. So you've been on all of these sides of the aisle. So I got to ask you this. I know you have a lot, but what is one experience that totally stands out to you?
When the crash came, for a lot of the builders, they stopped building. They couldn't, they could no longer function at those prices.
Yeah.
My smart broker said, we're going to start rentals. We're going to start managing rentals. So what happened during that time was we continued on, and we still were selling because we were selling in the lower price range, which will always sell. If you were selling like luxury homes, you probably wouldn't have been selling anything at that time. But people always need entry-level housing. And that's probably one of the best things that happened to me is that is where I began and started selling for years. But we began our property management and we started to build that up. So in the gloom, we found the positive and we
Yeah,
found a way to make that
you
work.
have
And
to do
that
that.
has grown to almost 50 rentals that I manage now. And our little company is in 5, 6 counties now, and we are licensed in South Carolina as well.
Oh, South Carolina.
So,
Yeah.
so we just grew and grew and grew. It took me personally about
Mhm.
10 years to function on referrals. Like I really don't have to advertise. I'm I'm not paying on Zillow, Truly, or Realtor.com, like trying to always
Mm,
be on top and pay more money to gain clients. It's word of
wow.
mouth. It's word of
Right.
mouth. And um the biggest thing that has happened to me that has been probably the biggest challenge
Okay.
um lately is after 17, 18 years of selling houses, you run into lots of situations, but
Okay. Yeah.
one of the most unordinary, I guess, if that's even a word. Um, I had a house that I listed for veteran,
Okay.
and I said, look, this is what's going to happen. This market is so hot, and where we live, there is a major shortage of housing, rentals, commercial leases,
Wow.
houses for sale. There's like nothing in the 5 or 6 counties that, like, as soon as a house is listed, like
Yeah.
you're having multiple
So,
offers.
so is it? I guess because of the military installation close by. Like, what's really? I know there's a lot of factors, contributing factors, but what do you think
I
is the
think it's
primary
because,
reason?
I think it's because if they sell, they have nowhere to go.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. I
It's
got
just because there's the demand is so much higher than the supply.
you. Right. Right.
Also, the school system's really good in the primary counties that are, well, actually in all 3 counties around where my office is. So
Uh-huh.
the industry's good. So a lot of people are moving into Bryan County, Effingham County.
Effingham. Yep.
Another thing that is happening as Savannah and Pooler grow,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
people want a yard. They want somewhere to garden. They
Right.
want they want animals. They are having to move out from the Savannah area into the more rural areas. You can't go to Tybee,
Right.
so you
Right.
gotta go the other way. And
Everything is coming your way.
yes, I happen to just be sitting in that spot, and it's all growing. We have a new industrial park, which it was just announced. 8,000 jobs are coming here for Kia.
Wow.
Um, we
That's huge.
also have, as you well know, Daniel Defense
Yes.
has a
Yep.
big plant here. And then we border Fort Stewart.
Yep.
So we do have military, but we also have military that are in Savannah at Hunter Army Airfield
Yeah,
Base.
I forget about Hunter. That's right. Yeah.
So it's just there's a lot of people from up north, from California. I've probably sold 5 houses to people from California this year.
People from California have made their way to that part of Georgia.
Right here,
Wow.
and it
I mean, not that I'm amazed or anything, but I can see that. But it's
well, the other thing is Gulfstream. Gulfstream
that's
brings a
right.
lot of people here.
That's right.
Um,
Yes.
and Pooler is getting so overgrown and congested where Gulfstream and the airport are that people are just moving a little bit further and a
Yep.
little bit further out. It's also the cost. You can get a lot more land, a lot more house the further you go
That's
away
true.
from Pooler and Savannah. Like Pooler and Savannah are like grown together now. Like Pooler is just bursting at the seams.
Right.
Um, and
So
the
so let
prices
me
are
ask you this. And you mentioned that the congestion of Pooler and Savannah's growing out. People want some elbow room, right? So they're looking at Bryan is Bryan County, not Bryant, right?
Bryan,
Bryan County.
Brya,
So
and then
so
also Effingham as well.
Effingham, that's right. So for prospective buyers that really want to come, you said folks are coming in from California and other states, if you will. What do you tell them? How do you guide them to certain? parts, areas? Like what does that conversation look like?
The first thing I say is, how far do you want to commute?
Okay.
With gas prices like they are, whether you have a Tesla or not,
Yeah.
how far do you want to drive?
Right.
If you've lived in Atlanta and every day you spend 3 hours on the road, you might not care. Or you may be moving here to not be spending 3 hours on the road. I asked them about their commute. My second question is a very important question, and that is, what type of financing do you need to obtain, or are you paying cash? The whole reason that matters is because if you are buying with a certain type of loan, then your house will have to be in a certain type of condition. Like if you're buying with a VA loan, it can't be a house that needs to be rehabbed. And a lot of times those are the lower priced houses. But going back to my latest issue that I had to help work out with the VA guy. So I want to tell you about that. That was the largest hurdle that I have overcome in 18 years of being in real estate.
Yeah,
so when I met with him, and it was in a rural area, further out than Pembroke. It was actually in Claxton is where it was.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of Claxton. Yeah.
About 5 acres. It was a little brick farmhouse. His wife was a teacher here at the school, and he's like, look, I got a new job. I think he was moving to Washington State. So he said, I already have my job. Got to sell the house. And I said, look, this is what's going to happen. We're going to list it. You're going to get multiple offers. You're going to have to tell the sellers have the market here. They can tell you, this is the day we'll move out. We're not paying any closing costs. We're not fixing anything. I mean, basically, that it's never been like that since I've been in real estate.
Totally a seller's market. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So, and it's starting to change, but still in some of the rural areas, it's the same because, like I told you, the shortage of housing.
Right.
So, exactly what I told him would happen. We got multiple offers. We were under contract, and we began to move forward on that. Well, unbeknownst to him, in the 2 years he had lived in that house, he had active termites under the house. Well, what had happened before he moved in is it was an old farmhouse. I don't know if it was originally brick, but at some point the house was bricked.
Okay.
Then they added a large front porch and bricked around the bottom of the front. What that did was close off the airflow under the home. Well, no one knew that when you got under the crawl space, it was only about this far off the ground. The house was built so close to the ground that it's something I've never seen in 18 years. So that presented a problem because even the termite company couldn't get under there to do a proper moisture barrier. It needed a moisture barrier.
Okay.
In a lot of homes, you would just rip out the floor and then gain access there. But it had original, beautiful oak hardwood floors that had all been redone. So my next challenge was when the home inspection happened.
The inspection, yes.
Yeah. He said, gotta have jacks. You gotta get this house off the ground. And
wow.
We have a crawl space issue where you need to have about 10 inches of dirt removed out from under that house, under the entire house.
Oh.
So then I learned about hydro excavators that come and they are $1 million trucks. And it was going to be about $9,000 just to get the dirt out. Not even including what they were going to charge for time being there.
Wow.
And so then I'm like, what do we do? So it was not a case of this is just not going to work. It had to work. I had to make it work. He was already moving.
Wow.
the buyer still wanted the house. He was a veteran also.
Okay.
He had sold his house and was living in a motel waiting on this house. And so I began my search for people that worked specifically for crawl spaces. Well, there's not really any. There are, but no one would return my call from Savannah.
So you had given them, of course, wind of why the nature of your call, right?
Yes,
And they're like, you know what? I don't want no parts of that. Oh,
right. In fact, one company, a jack company that's very well known, it's a national company. He drove up. He said, "I'm not even giving you my card. Not touching it." He left.
Thanks, but no thanks. Wow.
And then we had another company that wanted to put jacks in, and they could only access in the crawl space enough to see only one side of the house.
Right.
So
right.
It was open-ended on how much it would cost. Like he just couldn't tell them once he got to the other side how many jacks.
I can see that. Yeah.
How many jacks it would take.
Right.
So I searched, I called, I basically announced to 1,500 people, I need help with someone that can take care of the situation, get this dirt out. No one could help. They either could, or if they could, they were so far backed out that we couldn't close in time. And we had 3 weeks to work with.
Wow.
By the time I finally said, "I'm giving it to you, God. I don't know what else to do."
Right, exactly.
What I should have done before that. But I have exhausted all of my resources. I don't know who else to call. I don't know what else to do. A friend of mine said, "Call my parents. They actually have a construction company and they also flip houses." So I called the construction company. He came out and advised me, totally against the jacks, because of an old house with bricks. I don't know if it was brick siding, but it was brick veneer. So he said, "You just start to jack that old house up, you're going to have step cracks all in the sides of the house." He said, "And you have to slowly do that over time, or your sheetrock and all that's going to crack inside." All of this is beyond my scope. I'd never had to deal with any of this.
Boy.
So he and 3 other men dug with shovels all the dirt out from under the house, leveled it all out. He got it. He did not have to go 16 inches for there's a minimum of either 16 or 18 inches, but the house was grandfathered in, so it didn't have to be 18 inches or whatever. And the jack companies required a minimum height. But he went back with the original foundation system and added more piers, footers, and put piers, and ended up getting the job complete. I was able to get the termite company to come back.
Wow.
Retreat around everywhere that had been dug out, and anywhere that you have a earth to wood. So anywhere they had poured footers and put a pier that went up to touch the wood at the foundation, all that had to be retreated, because it's just a little ladder for termites if you don't do that. And then the termite company, they are super people. They came back and at no charge put a new moisture barrier all under the house. We were able to get it to pass inspection.
Wow. And how long? I know you said you had a 3-week time frame to work with. How long did it take them to do everything that you just mentioned?
By the time that I found the construction company, met with them out there, and they did all of that in 7 days.
Wow, in a freaking week? Really?
They worked all day long, worked into the night, and then the termite company went back on the weekend and resprayed and did the moisture barrier after that.
So I was going to ask you about resources for prospective homeowners. What I just heard from you the most, and I've purchased several homes and sold several as well, and thank God I've never been involved in anything remotely close to that. I know most people have not, but anyway, how like I said, I was going to ask you about resources. It seems as if the best and the most important resource is finding a good agent, someone who has the wherewithal, has a network, connections, and a decent understanding of, like as you just laid out, when things go awry, what will she or he do at that point? Any other resources that come to mind that people should be aware of?
Well, the first, and you're exactly right. I have learned through the years that my broker is the best resource I have, only because
Yeah,
she's done this for 30 something years. So when a problem arises that I've never dealt with,
yeah.
I call her for her. She's pretty much heard it all, seen it all, and she can kind of guide me where I need to go.
So
But
has she seen anything like this?
she had never, no,
Okay.
no one, no one that I had ever talked to had ever heard of a house being built so close to the ground. And
Wow.
what happened was when they added that porch, it created that moisture under there, and the people that added it had no idea that it would stop the airflow,
Yeah,
and it
exactly.
needed more vents is what it needed.
Wow.
And it needed a moisture vapor barrier. um, Other than that, I would say home inspectors are a really good resource.
Hmm.
In Georgia, it's not if you have termites, it's when you will get termites.
Right, right.
So it's important to have a bond. It's important to have termite inspections. I have seen termites go behind a brick wall and eat the sheetrock. And I never thought that termites would do that. I've learned all kinds of things that have nothing to do
Only,
with real estate.
only in Georgia, right? Those Georgia termites.
That's
Wow.
my experience with it. But other than that, your next best resource really is the lender. And
Okay.
so lenders can hold your hand
Hmm.
if you find the right one, and you're right, you can guide someone to them, or you can use an internet lender who's not in your area and has no knowledge of
Yeah.
anything in your area.
Yep.
But lenders have some resources that are very valuable, as far as we have Veterans United here with a program called the Lighthouse program. And if the buyer is not really sure if they're credit worthy, or if they have things on their credit report that they need to work on, we can put them into the Lighthouse program, and then the lender works one-on-one with them to help get them where they need to be to qualify. Also, as far as resources locally, the city of Savannah has funds that are called the Dream Makers program,
Hmm.
and they have down payment assistance.
Okay.
And then there's also a Georgia Dream program for people in Georgia. And of
Georgia
course,
Dream.
there's certain monetary income limits that you have to, and credit
Right.
thresholds that you have to qualify for.
Exactly.
But going back to when I was teaching and paying so much for that apartment, I found out about the USDA loan, and I laughed and I was like, USDA, that's like with meat, right? At the grocery store. Like, I was like, that's like cows, and like, I don't even see how that has anything to do with buying a house. Little did I know that the government has a pot of money that they put money in for rural areas, and buyers have access to those loans, especially if you have a lower income. And at the time when I was teaching, of course, my income was low, and little did I know that now that income is below the poverty line.
Okay.
But I was able to use that as a teacher, I was able to use the USDA loan, which is a no money down loan.
Okay.
So you don't have to come up with a down payment
Mm-hmm.
for that loan. And it does go by income.
Right.
And a lot of teachers or people that are single with it helps if you have children also.
Yeah.
You get a little bit more funding for children, but that is still a very, very good loan
I
that
can imagine.
a lot of people here use. You do have to have a 640 credit score with that.
Okay. Okay.
And
This is awesome.
and then there are also local grants
Mm-hmm.
that you can get. Takes a little work, but you just
Yeah.
have, each place, each county, not place, each county has different things that they offer. But
Okay.
you can also use a VA loan where you can roll in a lot of your cost
Oh, yes.
into the loan.
I'm familiar with those.
And then the FHA loan, a lot of people have a misconception that FHA is only for first-time buyers. You can use the FHA loan more than one time. Okay. You're just going to still pay a mortgage premium insurance every month.
Oh.
And then
Did not know that.
That's something that's part of your payment, that the government's getting part of your money. Mm-hmm. When you make that payment every month, they're getting some insurance.
Absolutely. No, this is great. This is great info.
And then also there's a conventional loan, which is not a government loan and allows you to purchase a home that may need rehab. It may need flooring. It may need, basically, I tell people, if you want to fix her up, or you need to use the conventional loan, because basically, as long as the structure's there, and this is really ironic, as long as it has heat, usually in Georgia, which I think it should be air conditioning, but they will pretty much, approve, and that's with FHA and VA. They want it to have heat.
I got it. Okay.
But with conventional loan, they're not a stickler for all of those types of things, like the condition of the roof, flooring. Flooring is a big deal for FHA and VA. They want the flooring. They want all the electrical up to code. With conventional, you don't have to worry about that as much. So that would be the easiest way to purchase a home that needs some work.
Wow.
There are government loans that you can build in rehab money, and they're like the 203K, which is FHA, and you can buy a house that needs a little bit of work, but there's more work involved in it. You have to get contractors to give you bids on things that need to be repaired and that kind of thing.
Right.
FHA is still the lowest credit score loan available that I know of. You can get FHA down to 580 credit score. VA, USDA, they're up they're at the 640 threshold.
Got it.
And then of course they look at income to debt ratios. Yeah. They also look at missed payments.
Oh yeah. They want a complete picture. So here's the thing, Melissa. You got 18 years in this, and it sounds as if you have 28 years in this. But I have to close this out by asking you. Before I close it out, I got to ask you. So for those aspiring real estate professionals, if you will, what would you impart to him or her in 1 minute or less? But I gotta pose this question.
The biggest piece of advice that I can give to someone starting out is to know the first hurdle is going to be passing that state test. When you pass that state test, know that you are going to put a lot of time and money into getting yourself out there, just as you would with any business that you're starting out. But my biggest piece of advice is to find a way to differentiate yourself from everyone else. An example of that would be my latest venture is photography has become one of the best ways to sell a home, because a lot of people moving in may never even see the house in person. So
Right.
picture is now worth $1 million.
This is awesome.
The other thing is you got to be up on your technology.
You have to. That's right.
You time is of the essence. Period. You
Period.
cannot get a call that you're just not answering the phone and it's someone in front of the home because your property's on the internet. The internet changed the whole real estate game. They can find out everything they need to know at their fingertips, but they can't get in the house. And when you don't answer that phone, you missed your opportunity.
That's it.
You got to be available. That is my other piece of advice.
Be available. That's it.
Got to be available.
I got to thank you tremendously again for being here with me and imparting this information. This has been so cool.
Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I would be happy to ever answer any more questions that you have. I know that we spoke about the interest rates going up, but even though that will affect some buyers, I believe the price correction is coming, and people are still going to need housing.
Thanks again so much for joining me, Melissa. Stand by for me. I'm going to talk to you in a second, okay?
Thank you, Chris. It's been my pleasure.
Absolutely. Everyone, Melissa Thurston. I'm going to have all of her contact information in the write-up. As you see, as you heard, she's a wealth of information related to real estate, the lending industry, and the whole nine. I hope this has been as informative to you as it has been for me. Please like us on Facebook. You can also follow us on Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel at lifewriting.com. Thank you guys for continuing to support lifewriting.com, where writing speaks.